Alessandro, you just got back from seeing 30 minutes of Dying Light 2, and they described the game as a narrative sandbox. What does that mean for Dying Light?
So basically what that means is that many of your choices will actually affect the flow of the narrative. The original game had a pretty linear story, but they view the story in Dying Light 2 as more of a sort of a nebulous thing where even like the minor choices of whether you want to save a particular character, or even if you side with this other character during an argument with different factions will irrevocably change the flow of the story, and it could even open up different areas of the map.
Yeah, so it can even affect the world. So I mean, for example, based on what you're saying, it sounds like we could, your final game could look your final world could look very different from mine. And it is of course written by, or at least the writing is headed up by Chris Avalon, who's well known for doing RPGs.
The Fallout series.
The Fallout series. So those sort of branching narratives are very much his MO.
Yes.
But what about the setting itself?
I think the setting is way more interesting than the original one. From what we've seen so far, is that for one, because the narrative sandbox creates this just this incredible flavor, where my version of Dying Light 2 will be my own, and my choices will actually affect the different areas of the city, and also the city itself, and that's what the setting is called. It's called the city.
Okay.
The city is actually 4 times bigger than the original game, so you're covering a lot more ground, and because you're covering a lot of ground, you're actually given more enhanced traversal mechanics as well.
Yeah, you were saying something about a glider, right?
Yes.
That can help you get around the city.
Yeah. For one, you can use your grappling hook at any point, but also you can.
Can you grapple on to pretty much anything, or are there specific points that you grapple on?
There's specific points, but you can actually use the grappling hook, I believe, during combat as well.
Okay.
So there's this one point.
So you can pull zombies close to you and things.
I didn't see that, but we did see the player using the grappling hook to sort of attach to the ceiling and sort of use it to create
swing
this
kick?
swing kick. Cool. Exactly. I really liked it. But during traversal, throughout the city, you can use the grappling hook, then sort of launch yourself up to use the paraglider, which I think is a really cool feature. And
okay, it's attached to your character. Is it almost like Link's glider that he has in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can use it at any time.
Well, what about the combat? We talked a little bit about how you can use the grapple to enhance combat, but you also said they're trying to kind of make. They're trying to make movement and combat a little more seamless.
Yes, in a lot of ways it felt very similar to Mirror's Edge in a lot of ways, where the combat and the traversal were sort of one and the same. They were very much related to each other, in terms of how your character moved. And also just how they sort of chose to engage the enemies. You can use these very sophisticated dodge mechanics. There's a slow-mo dodge you can activate, which allows you to sort of get around the enemy and hit their weak point.
Is it all about kind of keeping up momentum too? Is that pretty important?
Definitely, because you're going to be running around a lot, and you have to pick your battles, because you'll probably find situations where you're better off just hightailing it out of there, and trying to maybe find better resources to sort of engage a particular encounter.
Is there anything else that stood out to you from what you saw?
For me, I just really appreciated just the approach to storytelling.
It's not something you'd expect based on what we saw with Dying Light and previous Techland games. Yeah. It's really cool that it seems like they are doubling down on the story.
Yeah, they seem to be taking a lot of the good things that Dying Light did, which was offering this sort of sandbox, setting.
Zombie playground with parkour.
Yeah, but they're also evening things out a bit, where you're actually fighting a lot more human enemies this time around, but the zombies are still there, and over the course of the story, depending on what your actions are, of course, you'll see more of the infected sort of come out and reveal themselves. One of the moments that really stuck with me was towards the end of the demo, where you basically go against the supposedly evil colonel who had access to the city's water pump, and activating the water pump would actually open up a section of the city that you probably wouldn't have access to, if you had chosen to go a different way. And activating the water pump would open the city up, that part of the city up, and it would also reveal certain infected that have been sort of in hibernation in that area. And one of the infected that was revealed had spiked arms, and we didn't really see anything beyond that. So I'm very curious to see what
Yeah, they did have a lot of special infected in the first.
Yeah, and they say the infected will evolve significantly compared to the first one in this game. So I'm interested in seeing how that plays out.
And that's what Alessandro saw for Dying Light 2. It looks like it's scheduled for a spring 2020 release date.
Yep.
But for more E3 news, make sure to stay tuned to GameSpot.